guys, welcome back. I'm out here in my garden today doing some watering, doing some harvesting, and even doing some planting today. So I thought I would share some veggies that you can go ahead and try to plant out in summer. It's going to really depend on your planting zone, so you'll want to know when your last frost date is. But a lot of vegetables, you can kind of find varieties that have a shorter growing season or do better in different climates. So I'll go ahead and go over and give you some tips and tricks for growing in the summer. So if you're looking to plant out some leafy greens this summer, you want to look for varieties that are going to be slow to bolt. And probably look for places to plant that you can provide some shade, and you'll want to make sure that the soil is able to stay moist when they're starting to germinate. And you'll want to look for them for bolting. So that's like if they send up really high stalks and they start to flower out, it will kind of ruin the plant. They'll become very bitter and it's just not very good. But they will do best planted in zone 4 or lower. The higher zones tend to be a little hot, and it's really hard to keep leafy greens from bolting. You can do it, but you'll probably want to provide some shade and make sure the watering is done well there to get leafy greens to stay throughout the summer. But you can succession plant greens and stay in salads all summer long as you take care and kind of keep an eye out for bolting. Radishes are another plant that you can keep on planting throughout the season. They only take about 30 days to harvest. They do have a tendency to bolt, so they will do better in the lower planting zones. You'll just want to also provide some shade and make sure that you have good watering throughout the season. But radishes are really good for succession planting as well. So you can just kind of keep planting radishes to stay in radishes. They do great cut up, and you can ferment them and store them that way if you're getting a lot of radishes, or obviously they're like eaten really good fresh. You will want to look for bolting in radishes as well, as it will kind of decrease the quality of your radishes, and they won't really be as good and crunchy and stuff like that. They kind of lose flavor once they start bolting. All right, the next vegetable is carrots. Carrots are usually considered a cool weather crop, so they will do better in the lower planting zones. They do pretty good in the spring and the fall. They don't like to get too hot, so you'll want to consider that. I like to plant my carrots, I'll succession plant them, and I'll keep them under my tomatoes. They do pretty well as companion plants, and the tomatoes can create a good shade for the carrots. So I've had good luck with that. You can go ahead and experiment. I'm in zone 8, so it's not ideal for planting carrots right now in the summer, but you can do it. Just take extra care to keep the water or to keep the soil moist so that your carrots can germinate, and just keep an eye on it. Really, summer planting, you can experiment. You can just experiment with gardening, honestly. So as long as it's not going to break the bank, go ahead. And it's also a great time to go out and get discounted seeds. So you can get usual $3 packet of seeds for about 50 cents. I've seen them at the stores, sometimes even cheaper than that. So you can just throw some seeds down and see how it does. Just keep them well watered. One difference when it's the higher heat, you'll want to not plant your carrot seeds as deep in the soil. So they'll be really shallow for planting, and keep it moist. All right. So the next vegetable to be planted that can be planted in summer is actually a heat-loving vegetable, and one I'm going to plant right now is going to be cucumbers. So cucumbers, they're only about like 50 to 60 days. So it just depends on what region you are in. If you're in one of the lower regions that have a much closer frost date than I do, my frost date is usually not till November. In zone 8, so I have quite a bit of wiggle room there. I also have had a lot more of a wet, kind of cool spring, and even into early summer. June was pretty cool, and we just didn't get a lot of sun. So my cucumbers did not do good when I planted them that early. So I'm going to go ahead and plant cucumbers right now in zone 8, and I'll see how they do. I've had luck with planting right in the middle of summer with cucumbers. They love the heat. They'll really take off. You'll just want to provide them a trellising system. And they do like to be watered, at least especially here when we have like a high humidity here. They really like to be watered like at the roots, because when they get the water on their leaves, it does create problems such as like powdery mildew here. So that's some stuff to consider. Even if you're in the lower climates, you will have about like 2 months to grow cucumbers if it's going to be warm enough for you, and if your frost date isn't, September or early October. So you can go ahead and try cucumbers. All right, so the next vegetable that I'm going to discuss is summer squash, such as zucchini and the yellow squash. They love the sun, they love the heat. So, and if you're in the upper zones, even you can try out like zone 5, zone 6, depending on your last frost date. They will take off in the summer heat. Just make sure that you keep them moist until they germinate. And sometimes even planting them into summer at this time will help with pests such as cucumber beetle that tend to not be producing as much, or it kind of interrupts their cycle as far as like reproduction cycle. That's what it is. Their reproduction cycle has slowed down by this point that it tends to have less pests. They're also one that you want to water at the root system, as the funguses, mildews, and stuff like that can affect them if they're getting wet, especially in like higher humidity climates. You'll want to look for varieties that are shorter. Most of the summer squash though don't have a giant growing season. They're probably like in the 50-60 day range. So you can go ahead and get started with summer squash right now. All right, so the next veggie I would suggest as far as summer planting goes is green beans, but you'll want to do a bush bean variety, which tend to have a shorter growing season. They're very compact. They'll also they'll produce most of their beans like all at once, so they're great for if you're wanting to can beans. They do well. Like I like to grow my beans with corn and squash and do like a Three Sisters type of thing. And they're pretty easy to grow. They're also like considered like nitrogen fixers. So that's green beans. The last veggie I was going to suggest is sweet corn. Some varieties it's a little too late to grow sweet corn. I've already planted mine, but there are certain varieties that have a shorter growing season. And so if you're still really looking to get some sweet corn in, I would suggest getting started pretty soon, but it does take off in the heat. The corn loves the heat. So as long as you have the space, Corn, you're going to have a decent amount of space. It is wind pollinated, so they do need to have like 3 rows worth of corn to pollinate to actually get a production of corn. And you can look for varieties that do better in like smaller areas. There's one corn, I think it's called Yukon Chief, and it's like a smaller corn, but the season on that's pretty short. So it's like, I want to say 45 to 50 days for a harvest. So that's a possibility. It's not like a big long corn. It's kind of a little bit shorter, but it might be great for like a garden, like raised garden beds or anything like that if you're looking to do some corn. So that's what I have for you as far as vegetables that can be planted right now in summer. They will take extra care. You'll want to look at making sure you provide enough water. Probably some mulch would be helpful as well in the summer heat, shade cloths, or even planting in places that do have a little bit of shade to protect against the high heat of summer. If summer planting seems like a little bit too much work and you don't want to be in the heat, it's a great time to think about fall planting right now. It's also a great time to buy seeds because they're usually discounted from a lot of places. I've seen them in the store discounted quite a bit. I start brassicas inside pretty soon for fall planting, so that's a great time to start thinking about a fall garden. If you're in a region that has a kind of a milder climate and can do a fall garden. And some stuff even can take some frost, like Brussels sprouts are good for frost. There's some other plants that also do good for frost. So I do my garlic planting in the fall as well. I'm almost in a garlic harvest. I have scrapes that I'm going to be harvesting today, and I'll show you what I do with those and maybe like a short or something. We have our farm store up and running. So if you're looking for some good, natural, non-toxic skincare items, I also do some herbal teas and different stuff that we have created on the farm. We'll be adding more products such as goat milk soap and I think even some alpaca fiber we'll be processing soon. So that is that. Go ahead and check out my website and have a great summer. Try to stay cool out there. Bye.